Hello and welcome to Abundantly Minimal. My name is Sarah, and in today's video I'll be giving you a tour around my kitchen to show not only what we have on counters but also in our cabinets and drawers. I'll also walk you through a bit about what items we have chosen to keep now that we have a much simpler kitchen. One quick disclaimer to make before we get into this video is that while I do consider us to have a minimalist kitchen, it is definitely not minimal in size. This is a very spacious kitchen, by far the most spacious kitchen we've ever had, probably at least double the size of our previous kitchen. So of course, some people might say, well, that can't be minimalist because it's spacious. I don't really buy into that logic. I think it has to do more with how you fill the space that you have. And just because our kitchen is more spacious doesn't mean that we can't live a minimalist lifestyle. So just wanted to put that quick little disclaimer out there. Lastly, I won't be showing you what's inside the pantry or the fridge today, but make sure you've subscribed to the channel because next video is going to be showing you what's inside as well as some sample meals we're making during this lockdown time. Let's go ahead and get started. Now to show you each part of our kitchen in probably the most organized way, we're just going to go clockwise around. Past the fridge here, we keep our drying rack here on the counter. We do have a dishwasher which we use regularly, but for anything that's larger or is just a hand wash only item, this is where we'll place that. Up here we keep our glass jars, and you'll notice also that the very top shelf of most of our cabinets is left open. We didn't find we needed the extra space, and it's not super functional space just because we cannot reach it easily without getting the step ladder out. So for us, just because we didn't need the extra storage, we have those areas empty. We keep glass jars here. We like to drink out of these as well as storing different bulk items in these different glass jars as well. We also keep all the lids in a bin here, just so it's a little bit easier grab and go. There's also a few smaller or different shaped jars in there as well. In this particular drawer, this is where we keep our kitchen towels. We also keep produce bags here. We also keep our trash and recycling in here, which is also pretty convenient. Moving over here, we have our sink. And in this cabinet up here, we keep our extra reusable water bottles, which since we're not really going places, we're not using a lot right now. And then also our protein powders. More of them belong to my husband, Jake. I do enjoy them within reason. I'll usually do like a half serving. Whenever I've done nutrition calculations, I always actually exceed my protein, no problem. I think my favorite thing is to use them sort of as a dessert replacement. I've got a big sweet tooth, and the flavor of them, makes a yummy shake if you blend it up with, a non-dairy milk of choice and a frozen banana is something I enjoy making on a regular basis. Below the sink can be an area that gets a little junky for many people, but we try to keep it to be our essential items. So we have some vinegar, some hydrogen peroxide, some Dr. Bronner Castile soap, some dishwashing powder. There's a few extra water filters in the back, as well as an extra produce wash. The blue spray bottle is our all-purpose cleaner, which is just a mix of vinegar, water, and a few drops of tea tree essential oil. We keep some extra like rubber bands and twist tie kind of things, but definitely try to be mindful to not just have it be a catch-all junky space, and that's been really important. Moving over to this counter, we have our foaming hand soap dispenser, the refillable dispenser. We have our produce wash, dish soap, and then for sponges, I really enjoy cutting them into small pieces. So for regular size sponges, we used to just cut them in half, but now we cut them into thirds because it's really still plenty of sponge, and you get your sponges to last 3 times longer and still be cleaner longer. So that's been something we really like. We also value keeping our counters as clean as possible, and I think if you're looking for a way to make your kitchen feel simpler and cleaner and give you that extra counter space, you can do the same if there's any appliance that's not getting used enough to justify it being out. And for us, on this particular counter, the blender is something that's used at least once a day, sometimes 2 or 3 times a day, depending on what I'm cooking. So because of that, it definitely makes sense to keep out for us at least. Up here, we have our regular cups. We have reduced the amount of cups we keep quite a bit. we find that having 6 of each size is plenty for us. We also keep mugs here and insulated glasses. We have a few of those. And then Jake's school lunchbox is up there as well. Moving over here then, this is where we keep our plates and bowls. We have personally found that having 8 plates and bowls is a very reasonable number for us. Originally, it was a set of 12 that we had gotten secondhand, but we found that that was just more than we actually needed, and have reduced that. There's a few wood bowls there, a few larger bowls if we're having, like something that we're sharing or serving for when guests come over, or if I'm making a big kale Caesar salad to accompany whatever our main entree is for the day. A couple larger bowls also can be nice for baking. And while we definitely have plenty here, it's always good to question how many items you actually need of a certain type of cookware. So for example, the mixing bowls, when we originally got them, they came in a set of 4. And we realized that there was no way we needed to have 4 separate glass mixing bowls. And to this day, have never needed more than what we have. So I kept the smallest one in the set, and then not the largest, but the second largest, just so I have options, depending on how much I'm making. If I'm making like a small batch of cookies, I'll use the small bowl. If we're making a really large batch of something, then the bigger bowl works great. So just important to question that just because it came in a set of however many doesn't mean you have to keep all of them. We are very grateful to have a dishwasher. We didn't used to, and we really enjoy having it. I'll get into these 4 drawers as well. I actually recently did some reorganization because I found that this top drawer is the most convenient, yet what I was going to most, I was storing closer to the bottom, which doesn't make sense. Ideally, we store things in the most convenient place for us, which saves time and effort. So the top drawer is my tea section, which I love having on a regular basis. This next drawer here is where we keep the cutting board. We do have 2 cutting boards. This one is a little bit more convenient if it's just something quick, like let's say I'm having some hummus with cucumber as a snack. I can just use this to cut the cucumber. Further down, this is honestly a section we rarely use these, but as they are more of a consumable type of item, we don't feel the need to actually declutter them. But these are some of those disposable materials people use sometimes. Some of this is super old. There's plastic wrap, which we've never purchased, but I think this was one of Jake's college roommates had it, and we use it so rarely. There's only been very few cases. So we've got plastic wrap, parchment paper, aluminum foil. Aluminum foil we probably use the most, but even still, you can fold stuff and reuse it, as well as wax paper and some plastic Ziploc bags. At this point, most of this would be at least 3 or 4 years old. So again, we didn't need to have it in as convenient of a place because we're not using it that much. And then down below, this is not cooking related at all, but we do use this bottom drawer to store greeting cards for people, envelopes, extra Post-it notes, and basic paper products. It's kind of random, but it just was a matter of we didn't need all of this storage space. This is still a convenient location. If we're going to write out a list on some Post-it notes, then we just know right where it is, and it's pretty easy. We also keep extra gift cards here that we haven't used up yet, as well as if we are saving any coupons for things, which is not common, but there usually might be 2 or 3. And then over here we keep our Instant Pot, as well as down below there's a few miscellaneous food photography supplies from my cookbook work that I've done. One thing that was really positive about getting the Instant Pot was that we were able to get rid of both of our rice cooker and our slow cooker because it does all of those functions in addition to being a pressure cooker. And then right over here we have this beautiful window which really gives so much lovely natural light to the kitchen. And this is also where I keep my plants. And speaking of the plants here, I really enjoy having plants. But to be completely honest, I'm not very good at taking care of them. I purchased some succulent plants earlier this year and they're all dead. And they've been sitting here for a long time. I need to deal with them, maybe reuse the pots for something else, and I haven't yet. And of course, before I filmed this video, I could have moved them somewhere else and not talked about them, but I think it's important to help you know, hopefully you already do, that I value authenticity and being very transparent with everything. So with this in mind, I'm going to show you the dead succulents, but just know that, in life, we're not always going to be good at everything. Sure, I'm good at simple living, but doesn't mean I can take care of plants that well. So I think I overwatered them or something, but just wanted to throw that little reminder in as we go through. So here are those succulents that I was talking about. I love that the plants get lots of natural light in this area. This is definitely my most hardy plant. This is probably the one you recognize most from my videos. I do move it to wherever I'm filming when I make videos, and then I move it back here. This is its home. This snake plant, I don't feel like looks as good anymore. It did sprout, which was kind of cool. It's also gotten really tall. So I think back in late 2018 and early 2019, this was in my videos as part of my little backdrop I had. I feel like it doesn't look that aesthetic anymore, so I haven't included it there, but it's still doing its thing over here. I think in the future what I would love is to have a garden bed here where I can grow herbs and maybe kale and other greens, but we're not at that place yet, so it's not a project I am motivated to start or going to prioritize, but eventually that's what I hope for the space. In this particular cabinet, there's not a lot of space, but we do store extras of different spices or different extracts, things that we don't use as often, but still use sometimes, like liquid smoke, for instance. And then down below here, this is where we keep some of the gardening tools, as well as a few other miscellaneous type of items, such as a food thermometer or our potato masher, which we really use very rarely, so it doesn't deserve a spot in the main area. On the counter, you'll notice it's completely empty with the exception of a toaster. Just like the blender, the toaster is something that's used pretty much every day. Up here, this is where we keep our food storage containers. Now it is a little bit less full than it would normally be. We do have quite a few of these containers in use in the fridge and freezer at the moment. We are continually trying to increase our efforts with meal prep. And actually, my friend Tiffany over at Eat at Home is doing a program that's free this week called Eat at Home Victory Week, where she's going over a bunch of different strategies to help you meal prep more, focus on 15-minute meals, utilize your freezer more effectively, properly storing different food items. So she's going over a lot of really cool topics that I'm looking forward to learning about this week. So if you would also like to join the free challenge and learn about those topics that I mentioned, check out the link in the description field below. Again, it's 100% free, and we are definitely looking forward to participating along with her. There's a mix of both glass and plastic, as well as a couple of bigger ones that are more so what we use when we are bringing a dish to a potluck or a family gathering. In this particular drawer, we keep our frequently used kitchen tools here. We honestly do use all of these at least on a weekly basis. I do love cooking. At one point, we did actually have a container that sat out on the counters, but we realized that not only were they kind of crammed in there just because we've got different things for different purposes, but also it was just one extra thing on the counter. We had this space and we found we really enjoy not having it displayed out at all. Down below here, there's not a whole lot. This would be like our baking section. So we've got 2 cookie sheets. There's some silicone mats for baking, which is nice because you can reuse them and not have to use things like parchment paper. And then there's also a few, I guess you could call them casserole dishes down below, or baking dishes. We'll also use those if we're going to a gathering where we're bringing some food. Moving on over here, we have chose not to put anything above our microwave. The vent for it is there, but since we don't need the space, we're just avoiding that. Microwave's up here. Stove, pretty basic. Here we keep 2 appliances. We keep the juicer and the food processor here. These are both appliances we don't use that frequently, probably 1 to 2 times per month for both of them, but still enough to justify keeping them. And what we really like is that here they just have plenty of space to breathe, and it's very easy for us to get what we need. I think one of the parts of cooking that can be most frustrating is when it's difficult to get to what you need. The ease of use is not there. If you're trying to rustle through lots of different things to get to what you need, you're going to be less likely to cook. And even though these both have a few different pieces, it's so easy to get them out, use them, clean them, and put them back. So much easier than before, which is really nice. We do have a spice rack here, and this has been helpful, especially because we find we like to buy spices in bulk and refill them. And when buying them in bulk, we either buy them in smaller quantities at the store, or if we are going to Costco and we use a spice very frequently, such as cinnamon, for instance, or garlic powder, we buy the bigger container and then can just refill the smaller container. Here's where we keep our silverware. We have never had, a fancy matching set of anything, and that's okay with us. It's kind of a hodgepodge of different items. We keep one set of measuring spoons, one set of measuring cups in here as well. We don't have any other sets, but just we store them all here. We have a chef's knife and a serrated knife in here as well. We really do like this bamboo organizer. This has been one upgrade we did purchase within the last year, and this was a Crate and Barrel purchase. My sister actually works for them. And can opener in here as well, but pretty straightforward. And then down below, this drawer we use pretty frequently. This is where we keep our pots and pans. We have a pan here from Green Earth, which is sort of like a non-stick pan, and it works amazing. It was actually a viewer suggestion, and it really paid off. We've had it now, I think, 2 years and truly love it. We also have our two main pots and pans, one that's a little bit smaller and one that's bigger, and our colander and little strainers down here. And to wrap things up, that is our pantry, which we'll go into a bit more depth in our next video. So be sure to subscribe if you have not yet done so right up here. I hope you'll join me for the Eat at Home Victory Week challenge. Again, the link is in the description field of this video. And if you like these tour type of videos, check out a couple past tours that I've done here. We'll see you next time. Bye.